Welcome to another video. I am the Starman. Now, are you one of those people that's very interested in taking pictures of space? Maybe taking a picture of the moon, the stars, something like that. And maybe you've got a telescope and you haven't got a camera or anything decent to attach to the telescope. Maybe you're a little bit flummoxed by all of the adapters and all that sort of thing. And, something it's a little bit tricky setting up a camera to work through a telescope. Well, probably the easiest way of doing it is to nowadays you can use a smartphone. You can stick a smartphone up against the eyepiece of a telescope and you can take snaps of whatever you're looking at. It's amazing. Smartphones are so good these days. This phone I've got is an iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's a pretty nice smartphone, yes, and it's actually got three separate cameras on it. Can you see that? There's three separate cameras on there: a wide camera, a normal camera, and a telephoto camera. And what you need to do is, I would suggest, stick it on the normal lens, use the normal camera lens and try to put it up against a telescope eyepiece, say if you're looking at the moon or something like that, and you can get some amazing pictures with a mobile phone. I've just put some pictures on the screen now which I've taken using this through the eyepiece of my telescope. Absolutely amazing. Check this out. You can get some amazing pictures of the craters on the moon, and it's actually quite fun to do as well. I've been doing this for years. It's called afocal imaging, where you put a smartphone up against the eyepiece of a telescope, and obviously no matter what telescope it is, whether it's a powerful one or not so powerful one, whatever you're looking at through the telescope, you can actually get a picture of on your phone, because the phones are amazing nowadays. I mean, this phone here, it has a night mode on it and it actually stacks pictures so you can get a proper good picture of a faint object in space. I even took a picture of the Orion Nebula with it. Okay, so here's the smartphone adapter here, the Tri adapter by Move, Shoot, Move. It actually looks quite complicated, doesn't it? But it's not really, once you know what everything does. So this thing up here is what you use to attach the smartphone adapter to whatever device you're using it on. So in my case, I'm going to be using this on a telescope. So what I want to do is to put the eyepiece of the telescope into here, and then we tighten this down onto the telescope eyepiece. The next thing to do is to put your smartphone onto the adapter, and you put it in here, and then you use this knob over here to tighten up the smartphone. Any size of smartphone is catered for with this. Now there are other knobs on it. You see this one here? This is to move the adapter left and right once it's on your telescope. The one on the bottom moves it up and down. This is also that you can line up the eyepiece of your telescope, binoculars, whatever, with the smartphone, and the camera will be looking through here. You can also move it forward and backwards as well by using this. So it's got three different ways of movement to make sure that your smartphone camera is lined up with the eyepiece on your telescope. Now, it's not just a telescope that you can use this with. This is the box that I got it in, and as you can see there, you can use it for nature. You can attach it to all these things: binoculars, spotting scopes. You can even attach it to a microscope. So it's not strictly for astrophotography. You can use it for all kinds of things. So yeah, so got a nice case with it as well. Look at that there, case there. And we also got some instructions that show you how to do it. It's fairly simple. Like I said, it does look a little bit complicated, but it's not that complicated. And here's another thing as well. It even comes with a remote control that you can pair up with your smartphone, and you can use the remote control to fire the shutter on your smartphone, so you don't have to touch it, and that's really, really good. Okay, now I've got a dinky little telescope which I'm going to describe how to connect this to a telescope. We'll put it onto the eyepiece, and then we'll put a smartphone on, and then we'll see if we can get a picture of something. And now I know it's during the daylight, but hopefully we'll get a picture of something, and then maybe later on when it gets dark we can probably use it to try and take a picture of the moon or something like that. How exciting. Right, I hope you can see this. This is going to be my demonstration telescope where I show you how to connect this onto the eyepiece here, but I'll just show you this. It's a tabletop Dodsonian. It's a Celestron moonscope. I actually did a video on this actually a couple of years ago. Right, dinky little telescope, isn't it? So what we're going to do is we get the adapter. This is the eyepiece of the telescope here, and we put the adapter on like that. We tighten that clamp down there, you see, and that's how you put it onto the eyepiece. Now you might notice that I've wrapped this all the way out, the clamp there for the smartphone, because my smartphone, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is quite big. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that this lens here, which is the standard lens on this camera, the bottom one, we need to make sure that's lined up with the eyepiece. So we just stick it on here, like that, there, yeah. We tighten this up. And then what we do is we use these knobs here. We use this one and also the one underneath, and there's one at the back, to make sure that the phone is lined up with the eyepiece of the telescope. I've just quickly taken it off the telescope just to show you there. So we've got the eyepiece there in the smartphone holder, and there's my phone, and it's lined up with the bottom lens on my smartphone, which happens to be the main camera, and that's lined up perfectly now, yeah, using these knobs down here, left and right, up and down. You want to keep it on that one single lens, the main lens on your smartphone. I think we're all ready to go. I'll stick this on the telescope and we'll see if we can take a picture. Okay, you're going to have to excuse me on this because it's during the day and I can't point the camera at anything but my neighbour's chimney pots and areas. As you can see here, we're looking through the telescope now and we've got a close-up of those aerials and the chimney pots over there. So this is just a test during the day and we'll see how we do it later at night. But I've got the shutter button here. Now if I press that button on there, now watch. Did you see that? It just took a picture. So we can now have a look at that picture there. Look at that there, look. We got a picture with it. We got a picture through the smartphone, through the telescope. How about that? We got a picture of some aerials. It's not the most thrilling picture, I know, but it worked. We managed to get a picture using the smartphone through this dinky little telescope. Okay, so now that I've shown you how to set up the Move Shoot Move smartphone adapter on a telescope and take a picture with it, a simple little picture there during the day, the real test now is to see if we can get a picture of something in space. Right, it's about a week since I filmed that introduction to the Move Shoot Move smartphone adapter, and we've had horrendous weather. I have not had a chance to photograph the Orion Nebula like I said I would, but finally we've got some clear skies, and you might notice as well that I've got a bigger telescope. We're going to need a bigger scope. Yeah, I've actually decided to use this telescope here, which was lent to me by my friend Frank in Blackpool. Check out his channel on YouTube, and this is a Skywatcher 130 Heritage. I've shown it on the channel before. I think I did a review on it a few years ago, but anyway, it's a nice little telescope, very very similar to the other one, just bigger, and I've already got my smartphone on it, on the Move Shoot Move adapter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and take a picture of the almost first quarter moon. I'll just show you what I can see. So there you go, I've got a bigger telescope now, and I've got the smartphone on there now. It's not lined up with anything at the moment, but I just want to show you what I can see up here. If we look up here, look at that. Oh, that's gorgeous sky. I've waited so long for a clear sky, and finally we've got it just before we get a first quarter moon. It's just before the first quarter, almost a half moon, a perfect half moon. Anyway, it's time to see if I can line up the telescope with the moon and see if we can get a picture of that moon, because it looks absolutely awesome. So this telescope is quite easy to use. It's just like the other one. You just basically just move it around. It's a Dobsonian style telescope. You either move it left and right, and then you move this up and down, and that's all you have to do. So let's see if we can get the moon into the... Ooh, hang on a minute. Look at that there. Look, is that the moon? Oh, look at that. Oh, I'll trust it to go off just as I get it lined up. There it is. Look at that, folks. We've got the moon in the frame. And remember, if you're using certain smartphones might, if you try to zoom in on the moon, I can zoom in a bit and it won't switch a lens, but there might be some smartphones that switch lenses, so just be careful about that, because there's only one lens you can have lined up with the eyepiece at one time. So what I'm going to do now is, that looks very very bright. Can you see it looks very overexposed? So I think what I need to do is if I click on it, oh, look at that, folks. That's just brought it into focus. I don't know if you can see that. Now I'm using an iPhone 12 Plus, which is quite a nice phone, and every phone's different. you might need to tinker with your settings to get a good photograph, but we're looking at a pretty decent photograph there. And I've got this remote here, so I showed you the remote before. If I press the remote now, watch what happens. Oh, press the wrong button. You see that? It just took a picture. Did you see the screen flip then? So that's just taken a picture. So if I click on there now, I can bring that picture up. Oh, folks, I think we've cracked it. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe how clear that is. Oh, look, I'm going to have to put that on the screen for you. That looks absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Wow, I can't believe it. I wasn't expecting a picture quite as clear as that. That was absolutely incredible. I didn't even have to focus the telescope because the phone focused for me. Now, there is a focuser on this telescope, but I didn't need to focus with the telescope. I just stuck the eyepiece in with the phone on it, and the phone did the rest. Okay, I just quickly wanted to show you this picture that I took of the moon before I started a bit earlier. I took this with the iPhone 12 Pro Max on its own, zoomed in as much as I can. I think it goes up to 12 times zoom, but remember, most of that is a digital zoom, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot of detail on there. Some phones might do better than this, I'm not too sure, but there you go. That's the best I got with the phone on its own. And here's that picture of the moon again that I took through this 5-inch telescope. Look at the difference. What an absolutely amazing picture. Look at the detail in those craters. Isn't it absolutely incredible? Wow. So I'm going to wait until it gets a little bit darker now, and then I'm going to have a little go at the Orion Nebula. But I won't film that bit. I'll stick the images on at the end of this video. I've got a little bit of waiting to do actually. But what a fantastic picture of them. You can tell how cold it is. Look at my breath now. It's absolutely freezing out here, but we've got a cracking picture of the moon using the Move Shoot Move smartphone adapter. And don't forget that you can use it on binoculars, you can also use it on spotting scopes, you can use it for wildlife, all that sort of thing. I happen to be using it on a telescope, and it did a really good job. It's great for those people that can't afford a fancy camera and you want to get into astrophotography, you want to get into photographing space, things like that. You can do it now with a smartphone, and using this adapter you can hook it up to a telescope. You could probably join like an astronomy club, and you get these people with these massive telescopes, and you can just stick your if you ask them, you'd have to ask them first if you can put the smartphone adapter on it. Some of these astronomers are a little bit protective about their equipment, but there you go. That was it, the Move Shoot Move smartphone adapter, and we've got a cracking picture of the moon, and I'm going to put in some pictures at the end of the video of the Orion Nebula to show you just what you can get using a simple adapter like this with a relatively small telescope as well. I'm going to put a link in the description to where you can get one for yourself. And I hope you like this video, and don't forget to keep looking up.